have those guys be teachers first, teachers of the game, teachers of the life, but also high character men, because I want this program to put out high character men. So if I'm gonna surround our players with people, they better be high character as well. That they better be people that at the end of the day, these guys can look up to, they can lean on. They know that they truly care about them, they love them, and they can coach them. Because it's not what you know, it's how much you care, right? At the end of the day.
Episode of the Left Hash Call, we're joined by Maritime College football's new head football coach. He hails from Old Forge, Pennsylvania. Please help me in welcoming the new head coach at Maritime College, Coach Anthony Trotta. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you giving coaches like myself a platform to get on and talk about our life, our career, but talk a little bit about the game we love. Obviously, this game takes a lot, and, we all do this for a very special purpose. So thank you for the opportunity to get on and talk with you about this opportunity.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for coming on. I know that it's probably been a lot on your plate right away. Obviously, you got hired, not 27 days ago. Talk about how the summer has been, and also how did this all kind of come about?
Yeah, obviously, a whirlwind, but a whirlwind in the best possible way. I wouldn't have it any other way. For me, obviously getting hired on July 1, probably not ideal for a lot of head football coaches, but I don't think I would have it any other way. It's just, pick it up, pick the ball up and start running with it. And that's what we've done. As far as what the last 27 days have been like, a lot, moving, packing boxes, all that good stuff. But really, when you talk about structure and organization, I think the biggest priority for me, and this was something that I talk about quite often, is people, right? And if you don't surround yourself with good people and you don't bring the right people into the program, I don't think anything you do, you really have no shot to be successful. So for me, the last 27 days have been out trying to put the best possible staff that we can together, and to be able to put us in position to go win football games come September. So started with the staff, and then really just stack days one by one, right? You build the foundation now, and you build the system and the processes now so that you can get the outcomes that you want in September, October, November. So just trying to take it day by day, drinking water through a fire hose some days, and just be able to go from there. But that was, like I said, I don't know that I would have it any other way. Obviously, I think sometimes you look at it and say, you know what, maybe if you get hired in January, you have a little bit more time until
Right.
fall camp to get ready in a spring ball, but why not, right? Like, let's lay the foundation, let's find the right people, let's build the processes, and let's get to work. So I think this is kind of, especially for a first time head coach, you get to take away a lot of the thinking that goes into this. Like, I don't have that much time to really chew on a lot of these decisions. I got to make my mind up on what way we're going to do it and just hit the ground running and go and do it. So I think from that standpoint, it's been pretty easy to do those types of things.
What stood out about this job specifically? Because you only get to be a first time head coach once, right? What was it about this job that said this is the right fit for me?
Yeah. So at Union last year, as the defensive coordinator, we played SUNY Maritime. So we each, I got to see the team up close and personal. And you don't often get that experience. You don't get to see, it was,
Right.
I think, 18-15 final score of the ball game, came down to the fourth quarter, like back and forth game, ups and downs. You got to see how the team battled adversity. And when this position became available, and starting to think, okay, is that something I would be interested in? I went back and watched that tape, and I was really, a lot of things stood out to me about the players here. And then you look at it, and from a football standpoint, we return 10 starters defensively, 6 starters offensively. Okay, those, you can build around those things. You come off a first bowl win in school history. You dive even deeper, a football program that's only been here 20 years, right? But a school who's the first maritime college in the country, 1874, right? Like you have all those pieces that go with it. And then you start having conversations with people and talking to the athletic director, Jamel Ramsey, who sat in this seat before me, obviously, a football coach, a football guy who's never had a losing season as a head coach. Like he knows ball, but he also knows how to build a program and organization. So when you get the first time opportunity to learn from somebody like that, I think that's really important. Like I'm a firm believer. I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. I think we all constantly have to be evolving and learning. But then you talk to the rest of the people throughout this process and have him to lean on. And, you know, the admiral who is the president of the school, John Ocon, two-star admiral. Come on, man. Like that's awesome. And then you sit down and have a conversation with him and hear his vision for this place. He went to school here. He loves this place and what he wants to turn this into. And then you hear his core values of loyalty, valor, and leadership. I think those are some things as football coaches we can get
Right. Yeah,
behind and we can
absolutely.
build on. So if that's the mission of the institution, let's just build on that as a football program. So I think it started with seeing it up close and personal from the opposite sideline, and then diving deeper into conversations and being like, okay, there's a lot of really cool opportunities here from a football standpoint, and then from a standpoint of this type of students we get to recruit and develop. You get guys that go on to serve their country, guys that want to be in the maritime industry and get their license. And they come to school here because they know the outcome that they want. And I think that's really important. I think a lot of people in today's world don't really know the outcome that they want. And when you can find young men that know the outcome that they want, you can help get them there a lot faster and you don't have to deal with some of the other things. So for me, a lot of those pieces stood out.
Tell me about the maritime industry, as you said, for those that may be unfamiliar with what that actually looks like, what that actually transpires into after college as well.
I mean, there's multiple different avenues for these guys to go on. I think, like I said, 27 days. I'm still learning a new thing every day about the different opportunities for these guys. But the big things are people who want to get involved in engineering and international trade. That's the two biggest things here. We have a training ship, the Empire State 7, which is awesome. You walk out and you see it out on the pier out there, and you get to see that when you're here for an on-campus interview, and then by the time you come back on campus in July, that thing is gone and in the middle of the ocean. And tomorrow I get to go on that ship and ride it up the East River and hang out with our guys and be able to see what they do up close and personal. So probably after tomorrow I'll have a different perspective of what they get to do and the career readiness that it trains them for. But when you talk about guys that go on to the Navy, to the Coast Guard, they get their licensure, they go and work in the maritime industry and be able to, you know, everything, if you think about it, shipped across the world and all of that goes with it. And just a lot of cool avenues. And like I said, I'm no expert. I'm learning on it every day. I ask a million questions and try to learn as much as I can. But I think the people that I've interacted with and our players are very driven and they know what they want and they each seem to have a different avenue that they want to take this thing down. And to me, that's pretty cool as you get to learn about a bunch of different things and throughout different courses of where they're going to take this and how they're going to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned, the program went 8-3 last year, won its first bowl game in this past season. How do you, keep that momentum, that the positive momentum that's headed your way, but also, come up with your own processes like you're mentioning and making this program your own.
Yeah, I think obviously great question and it's one that I've heard before since taking the position. I'm a believer that banners and bowl trophies don't win games the next season, right? So we can't say, oh, we did something great last year and rely on that this year. It's a brand new season every single day. I'll walk through the stretch lines and I'll remind our guys we got to go 1-0 today. We got to go 1-0 on Tuesday, 1-0 on Wednesday, 1-0 on Thursday, 1-0 on Friday to get that opportunity to go 1-0 on Saturday. And it's about that continual growth every single day and finding something that we can truly lean into. And then obviously, like you see the behind me, that plan to win. I think for us and for me, I'm a firm believer it starts with our culture. And culture is not just a word and a slogan. It's something that needs to be cultivated and worked on every single day. And it's setting a standard for our guys that this is how we practice, this is how we do everything. And here with the regiment side of things and the different types of things that our student athletes have to go through, they understand standards and they understand having processes for different things. But ultimately, to answer your question, it's we have to continue to improve every single day and we have to attack it like we didn't win a game last year. And I'm a firm believer in that. There's no shortcut for hard work, right? You have to put the work in. We have to be able to do those things at the end of the day to put us in a position to truly be successful. So it starts with that 1-0 mentality every day, and it's building on our culture and our standards and not being afraid of the standard and not being afraid of the success that we had last year and continuing to improve on that every day.
From a, I guess a schematic standpoint, obviously, the players in your current program are used to something, right? They're used to a system. They've been running a system for a while. Is it a matter of trying to figure out what they were good at while still also trying to mesh what you do defensively as well as, what you want to do offensively as well?
Yeah, I think anytime that there's a transition in a staff, right, you have to look at what did what did we do really well last year? How can we build on that? And then how can we implement what are the core things that I believe in as a coordinator? What are the core things that I believe in as a head coach now and that our program needs to look like? And how are we going to do those things? And what is that going to look like on the field? Right. Obviously we have systems and as a coordinator, you have something that you really believe in. And that's how can you mesh that together with what the guys have done last year, but also how can you take it and build it onto what you have. I'm a believer that football is football, right? Like you're playing college football because you know how to play football. You don't just get the opportunity to play college football for no reason, right? So you know how to block, you know how to tackle. Our job as coaches is to teach you the language of our system, right? And then to get you and to build that language so that you can play as fast as possible, right? Language is language. And if that's the barrier, then there's a problem with your language, right? Our language and how we say things has to be so that everybody can understand it and everybody can go out and play fast and physical. If that should not be a barrier to me. So when you talk about, yeah, they may have run, for example, cover two and we do more cover four, cover three, or those types of things, insignificant. Football is football. The teams that block the best, the teams that tackle the best, those are the teams that win as many football games. it's
Right.
not it's not who can hold the whiteboard marker last and say, you know what, we have this perfect play on paper and we're going to run this type of passing concept and we're going to do this and that. You have to block, you have to tackle. Football is the best game in the world because yes, it's changed over the years, but you still got to block and you still got to tackle to go win football games. At the end of the day, that's what it's going to come down to. Can we block and can we tackle and can we do those things harder and longer than the team across from us, right? Can we do hard things over and over and over again? So I think, you know, it's a blend, but it's also like, what is the vision? And then as a coach and a teacher, obviously having a teaching background, you get everybody to buy into what your vision is and how you're going to run that. And I think that's ultimately kind of what it comes down to, in my opinion.
I think it's funny as I continue to be a lifelong learner of the game. I think as I've gotten a little bit older since I've played and coached, that everybody kind of runs the same stuff. Like for the most part, I mean, it's all got the same concepts and everybody steals from each other, but it's the ways that you run those plays and it's the way that you coach those guys to run those plays versus, I've been on a team where we won one game and we ran four verticals a bunch. I've also been on a team where we won 8 games and ran four verticals a bunch, and I felt like the read was the same in
Yeah.
both places. And it's just a matter of the players that you have as well also helps having like 6'5" guys that runs 4.40s versus the not guys that don't do that. But it's just crazy how everybody really runs a similar scheme, whatever it is. Obviously there's little nuances, but it's all really about how you coach those guys.
And it's to me, and you probably, I don't know, you probably can't see it on there, but part of my belief and part of our belief here will be it's always mentality, then technique, then scheme. At the end of
Mm,
the day, we're going to coach the crap out of mentality, and we're going to make sure that our guys know what the mentality of each situation is. But what is our mentality right now? Do we have to go and get a stop here because we need the ball back? Are we going to 4 minute mentality? What is the mentality of the situation? And then what is the mentality of the call? For example, cover three on defense. Well, cover three on defense, you're not really aggressive in the flats. That's the mentality of the call.
right.
Versus you're playing cover two, you're a lot more aggressive in the flat. All right, offensively, what is the mentality of this four verticals? All right, we're attacking the seams here, looking at the dropouts, yada yada, all that other stuff. It's what is the mentality of each call that we have, and then what is the technique to be successful, and then finally, what is the scheme last? Like, how does that all fit into the biggest picture? So, I think you said it perfectly. Is you got to be a lifelong learner, and you got to be able to take and make your own and make it fit what you want to do. But at the end of the day, it's I think it comes down to 5 performance standards of like, this is how we evaluate our program: is can we run the ball effectively? Did we limit the run? Vice versa, right? It's about run. Do we take care of the football, and do we take the football away? Right? Do we win the turnover margin? Did we win the penalties, right? Did we not beat ourselves in the penalty margin? Did we win the fourth quarter? And then finally, did we compete, right? And in every single phase of the game, did we win the third phase? Did we do everything we needed to do to be successful? So I think when you look at those things, it's pretty simple. And then obviously, anybody who's seen my social media, I believe life is short. Run to the football defensively and offensively. I'm a defensive head coach, man. We're gonna throw to score and run to win the football game. So we're gonna do some really good things. I'm really excited about the offense and what we're putting together here, and to mesh it with a defense that we have going right now.
Well, coach, I can't wait to follow along this season with your first season as the head football coach there. I want to go back to, your upbringing and your journey into this whole thing. You grew up in Pennsylvania. First of all, do you subscribe to either one of the pro teams out there?
No, I
Okay.
I cannot claim the
Okay.
Steelers or the Eagles. I have
Okay.
a lot of friends that are Steelers and Eagles guy. I'm an Indianapolis Colts fan.
Okay. All right.
You got to thank
There we
my dad
go.
for that one. I grew up Indianapolis Colts fan and a Baltimore Orioles fan, so nothing to do with PA teams.
So more of the Baltimore Colts era is kind of
Yeah,
where that's where
exactly.
I'm
That's where
hearing.
I was
Okay.
born. That was where it
I,
came from.
I love that. Yeah, you don't want to go too far over to Yinzer Nation. I'm a Steelers fan, so I had to ask. But take me back to Old Forge. What was it like growing up in that community, growing up playing football in that community, and how did that kind of shape you into who you are now?
Yeah, I think it's a really unique community, full of a lot of hardworking, tough individuals that take a lot of pride in where they're from. I think it's a town in where you grow up, people raise their kids there, then their kids raise their kids there, then their kids raise their kids there, and just generational families through the school district. And then you have a school district in Old Forge where um my graduating class had like 85 kids in it. It's small school, small high school. It's the people you grew up with from kindergarten to senior year, and then to be able to be the class president on a graduation night and walk off the stage and give a graduation speech, and to be raised in a community that values, you know, hard work, toughness, and doing things the right way, and just pride. I think I learned a lot of pride, having pride in yourself, but having pride in community, pride in family. It's a small town, self-proclaimed pizza capital of the world. I know all the people in New Haven and everywhere in Chicago, they're gonna be mad at me, but self-proclaimed. Portnoy went there and did his whole pizza review and everything else. But
Did he give a good score? What was the score?
I think it was in the eights, I believe.
Okay, it's a great
I
score.
think I think it was in I think it was in the eights.
That's
Don't
all preference though on his side of things.
yeah,
He's just a pref that's a preference thing on his
don't
part.
quote me on that, but the reason I bring it up is, there's 10 pizza restaurants in town,
Wow.
and they're all competing against each other. But
My goodness.
if somebody runs out of something, they call the guy across the street, hey,
Wow.
can we have, we ran out, can we, and that's the type
Man.
of people. Or our high school team is going, needs a place to eat. The restaurant is hosting us to eat on Thursday night before a Friday night game. Absolutely no problem. You guys are here. We'll feed you. We'll take care of you. Whatever you need. Like, that's the type of people in the town. And then, I think the town kind of shut down on Friday night. At least that's what it felt like. And you
Mhm.
go to the game and you just feel that sense of pride of, the old timer standing at the top of the bleachers talking about, his team and whatever. And, we were very fortunate. We won a lot of games during my career there. And, I think at the end of the day, you just learn a lot about having pride in where you came from and being developed and having that tough mindset. And there's no excuse for hard work. I credit that to my upbringing from not only my family, but from the town and the people that I'm surrounded with. I think you can't do anything in life without good people. So you are who you surround yourself with at the end of the day, right?
Right. You mentioned, your upbringing, your family. I read somewhere that your dad helped restart the Old Forge junior football program. How did watching that and watching him lead shape how you now lead as a head football coach?
Yeah. I that's something that I don't know that I would be sitting in the seat that I'm sitting in without having that. If there were junior football programs in the neighboring towns and everything else, and in our town didn't have a organization for a while. And my dad and my mom and a couple of their friends in the community set out and they started the first board to bring back the program and restarted the program. And I got to see you know how to lead with a vision, but how to treat people and build an organization from the ground up, and n- not finding an excuse, but finding a way. And I think that's something that's really important is like, yeah, and coaching, great. We're small town coaching. I coached high school football. It's like, can you find an excuse or can you find a way? Like, go find a way to get it done. Like, there's no job too small. Let's go get it done. Like, my mom and dad, I remember it vividly. I'd play a game, my dad would coach and be there all day. My mom would be in the stand, and at the end of the night, they're there with a bunch of our friends' parents and cleaning up the concession stand so that it was clean and ready to go for the next day. And I think at the end of the day, you get to see that and you get to watch how you know I'm biased, but how they treated people and what they did for myself, our friends, my brother and his friends, and the community, and an organization that started in 2002 that is continuing right now. I think restarting that really shaped how Old Forge High School football, has transitioned and played in the state tournament and been to the state championship since that restarted. So I think watching that every day was something really important, and I can't thank my parents enough for the support that they give and the sacrifices they made. um you know they've already got the schedule scouted out. They know where they're going to be this fall. My brother's a high school coach back in Pennsylvania. So, they'll be at his game on Friday night and they'll swing up here to Maritime on a Saturday afternoon and be able to watch us play ball. And that's something that's really important to me is having them be a part of this thing. And when I know that I have their support no matter what, obviously crazy kind of journey here, but having their support and everything, it allows me to do what I do every day, because I know that they have my back no matter what, and not just them, the type of people, as family, friends, the different type of people that have supported me throughout this whole journey, and believed in what I wanted to do.
That is incredible. I can't remember who said it, but I was talking to a high school head coach that I really, oh yeah, a high school coach that I really respect, and
Yeah.
I asked him one time, "Hey, when you were a high school football coach or head coach, who's your first hire?" And he would always say, "Well, it's not really a hire, but I want to know who the youth coach is because like those youth coaches, they are really so important for getting people to or getting kids to enjoy football and like it for the first time because that's, when you're getting into high school, getting into college, you always get asked why do you like playing the game? Well, it's those early memories and those early, developmental years that you really, that's why you play is to have fun ultimately. I want to go back to your recruiting process out of
Yeah.
high school. What was that process like, in coming out of a smaller school in the state of Pennsylvania?
Yeah. Fortunate, like I said, we won a championship, won the district championship, which is like the area championship in Pennsylvania. Got to go and compete in the state tournament. Had a tough draw. We played multiple time state champion team, and we were able to battle with them and ultimately lose the game. But I knew that playing college football was something that I really wanted to do. Um, Probably since my freshman year, and really started working towards that goal, as far as working out. And I had some great coaches, and one of my biggest mentors still to this day is Dan Holland. He was our defensive coordinator, and to the point where we worked out almost every day together, and he pushed me. He was a heck of a college linebacker, but to push me to be better, to run, to do the things that I needed to do to be able to compete in college. And then to go on the recruiting process and visit a lot of great places and really hear the vision for people's program and what they believed in. And you get to see some different things. And I think that was really eye-opening experience for me. Obviously, very fortunate to get recruited and to be able to go and play, and then um, end up making a decision to go to a school that I really was excited about, but didn't have my major. So I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher and a football coach, and went to a school that education wasn't a major. And went through the first year, and it's like, okay, this is all right. I'm taking psychology classes. I'm writing a lot more than I really wanted to write at that point in time. And then being able to realize and take a step back and say, I need to make a choice here, and a decision to transfer before the transfer portal was actually a thing, and go to a school that had education and really was known for putting out educators, and really changed kind of the trajectory that I had throughout the process, and being able to do that as well.
Did you always know you wanted to be a football coach, like from an early age? Was it obviously your dad was pretty involved with that, but did you always know that's something that you really wanted to do with your career?
Yeah, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher and coach. Like, I think fifth grade or whatever. I think that's when I started to realize I wanted to be a teacher, and like really started to value that stuff. I always liked, you know, school, math, and history. Wasn't really a science guy, but really enjoyed that aspect. And I had really good teachers and really good coaches. Obviously, my dad was a coach a lot of my youth career, but also my friends' dads, and being able to watch them and how they were coaching, and how each of them had a different style of how they did things, and how they coached. But they all ultimately wanted the best for us as a group, and then being able to see that and just develop it. And then, like I said, having people in school, as far as my high school coaches, really develop me and push and pour into me, and then wanting to be able to put that back. So I thought for the longest time I was going to be a high school head coach, and coach at the high school, and do those types of things. And then kind of, I guess plans change. So didn't end up in a bad spot because of it.
What are some of the biggest lessons that you learned from coaching high school football? Because it's so different,
Yeah.
than college a lot of times. But what are some of those lessons that you learned coaching high school football that you still carry with you when you're coaching in college?
Uh, how to cut the grass, how to line the
Yeah.
field. No, it's how to recruit your hallways, and how to how
Right.
like small town Pennsylvania football, it's you got to develop a culture and something that people want to be around, that you walk around the hallways of the school and it's like, you know what, I want to be a part of that. That's how you get the best teams and the best people out. And then just pouring into the other sports in that sense of community. Like I said, small towns, um, like we had guys on the team that are playing three sports. They're football, basketball, baseball players. Like, and then me as the coach is showing up to watch them play basketball or at a baseball game and pouring into them that way, and just developing that sense of community. That's how you get the most out of people. But I think the high school level, it teaches you, if you can communicate to a 16-year-old who just took a math test and may or may not have failed it, his girlfriend is fighting with him because X, Y, and Z and something else, but you still, for that 2 hours, have to get the most out of him so you can go out on a Friday night and have a chance to be successful. I think, at the end of the day, being able to communicate in that sense, I think that's really where it took me to the next level. Obviously, being 22 years old and being thrown into the fire to be a defensive coordinator, like I had to figure it out. And
Yeah.
like I said, you can either find an excuse and say, well, I'm 22 years old, or you can find a way and talk to people and learn and grow and evolve and say, you know what, this is how I'm going to do this. And this is, I'm going to pour into these guys to truly be successful at the end of the day.
What was the decision like getting into college? How did that first job come about?
So um, my position coach in college, Jeff Long, who's the head coach at Moravian University, he is to this day one of my best friends. It was his first coaching job at the college level, and we just remained close after I finished playing and his coaching career evolved and took off. Um, one day I was, heading in, just finished up our third season. I was coaching. I was the defensive coordinator, associate head coach, had a big role, really liked it. I was teaching at the high school, but around November and Thanksgiving, I was like, I kind of think I can coach college football. I kind of think that there's more for me than coaching high school football right now. I'm 25 years old. I don't want to look back at 30, 35 and be like, what if? So I called Jeff up and I said, what do you think? He's like, I think you should buy a ticket and go to the AFCA convention. And I'm going to introduce you to some people. And I want you to just have some conversations and see what you truthfully think. If this is something you want to get into. So bought the ticket, went to the AFCA convention, talked to a bunch of people. And I'm like, you know what, I want this. I really want this. Ultimately, one of the conversations that I had led to talking to um, the head coach at Wilkes University, which is also my alma mater, but I did not play for him.
Okay.
John Drock. He ended up having a position, and he's like, "Listen, it's a, you know, intern position, and intern means full time without the pay. Like everybody knows, you got to cut your teeth
Yeah.
somehow." He's like, if you want to, if you really want to do this, this is how you get your foot in the door. And he hired me to be the defensive line coach. I ended up leaving teaching for, I think it was in March. I left right before spring ball had started. I resigned from my teaching job, and everybody's like, "You're an idiot. You're an idiot. Like this, you're making a mistake. You're gonna be tenured." And I'm like, "No, I want to be happy, and I think this is gonna be the best decision I've ever made." And fast forward now from 2019 to 2025, it's been the best decision I've ever made, and I'd make it every day of the week. You know, the hardest part about it was having to sit my parents down and tell them that I was quitting a full-time teaching job to go coach college football for peanuts. And yeah, I was gonna make a run at this. I think my mom definitely cried, and my dad, put his hand in his head, and he just didn't understand it. And now I can tell you that they truthfully are my biggest fans, and they are a big piece of the support, and talk to them every day, and what's going on with the program, how's everything going, fully bought into what we made this decision to be. And I thank Jeff and the people that supported me and told me, you know what, go run at it and go chase your dream. There was a lot of those people, friends, family, that are like, go do it. and put your mind to it and run at it as fast as you can. And I wouldn't be here without those people and those supports, because you got to cut your teeth, and there's a lot of hard days when you cut your teeth. And to be able to be in a position that I'm in now because of a decision that I made, it's kind of surreal to sit back and think about every once in a while, to get perspective, like, wow, that decision that I made changed the course of my life, and it's taken me to Ohio, and it's taken me to New York, upstate, and out of the Bronx, and all over the place. So I'm very fortunate that I had the people that were like, absolutely, go run at this thing, my parents included, and friends, family, to be able to say that this is something that I needed to run at.
That first coaching salary, or paycheck, gets pretty dicey, but you make it work and you figure it out. But
Yeah,
um,
Uber Eats, DoorDash, a lot of those extra, like after a late night at the office, probably the last thing you want to do is going to do some DoorDash, and but
right.
gotta pick up a couple extra dollars here and there.
It's like, what do you mean my rent is exactly what my paycheck is?
Yeah.
uh, but Coach, you moved through a couple different programs. You've been in a lot of different places, like you said, and taking you all the way to Ohio, and like you said, upstate New York. At each stop, you're at John Carroll, Oberlin, obviously back to Wilkes,
Mm.
and then Union, obviously your most recent stop.
Yep.
I can imagine that each stop taught you something different. Probably
Absolutely.
something. There's probably things that you figured out that you liked, and maybe some things that you didn't like. And I think that's the beauty of the profession, is whether whether you like what you're doing or you don't like what you're doing, you're at least learning what you want to do eventually. What are some things about some of those stops that still stick with you and that are a part of your coaching DNA per se?
Yeah, I think starting with Wilkes that first season in 2019, being able to work for Coach Strock, but specifically the defensive coordinator Tom Elder, who is still a mentor of mine. Being able to learn how to organize a staff, and that was the biggest thing, and being able to delegate, but also being able to listen, right, and being able to say, hear everybody's opinion, listen to what they have to say, and then being able to make the final decision. I think Tom was the one who truthfully taught me, like, at the end of the day, yes, as a coordinator, you make the final decision, but you take everybody's input. You give everybody the opportunity, because that makes them bought into the process and what you're going to do, and how you're going to do things. So I truly thank him for that. And I mean, we had a fantastic staff that year in 2019. I think 5 of us are head coaches now.
Hmm.
Uh, one of us is coaching D1, Division 1 position coach. So a lot of great guys on that staff, and in the memories, and the stories, and and the text chain, and the BS, and all the other stuff that
Hmm.
you go through, and the late nights in the office. You learn things in those moments. You learn things by sitting in the office, when it's just the young guys that are the interns that are sitting there, like, one day if I sat there, this is how I would do it, and just like talking to each other.
Now you
And
get to prove it,
exactly.
right? Yeah, now you get to prove it.
Exactly. And then being able to have the opportunity at John Carroll and going to a place, Don Shula Field, and seeing what the legacy and what that place truthfully is, and being able to see how that operated, and then to deal with COVID while we were there, and everything that came with it, to be able to experience that, but also see a different side of it, a larger program, more guys on the roster, how to truthfully manage roster expectations, expectations of alumni. At Wilkes, we had a very good program, but we were coming off of, a not great stretch of our career when I was there in 2019. When I played there, we struggled, and we didn't win a lot of football games. John Carroll, you're in there and you're ranked in the top 25, so you're in a position where there's a lot of expectation, and how to manage those expectations, but also that there's no secret for hard work. And then you go to a place like Oberlin, and you learn the academic side of things in that high academic world, and how to manage. Now we have a very small roster, and how to still try to go out and compete, on a Saturday afternoon and put people in the position to be successful, but ultimately understanding that the type of education that people are going to get there is world class. And then to come back to Wilkes, which is, like I said, a home away from home, and it will always will be that for me. I went to school there, I graduated from there, coached there twice, and to be able to see guys that were there in 2019, and then to finish up their career in 2022 and coach them, and be able to go out and do those things and really develop, as a defensive coordinator for the first time, what I truthfully believed in, putting that, at the collegiate level into play. And then I think building that staff was probably the biggest thing I learned in my time, that second time at Wilkes, like how to truthfully organize that staff. Hiring a guy like Anthony Konechka, who's a defensive coordinator, in Fairham, Virginia. Devin Fink, who is the linebackers coach and special teams coordinator at Wilkes right now. A guy who he was a freshman when I was a senior. We played
Hmm.
together, and then to hire him back, and now to watch him grow through the profession, and then to be able to bring guys through this, I think is something really special. And then Union was a place where you got to see a program that has a 70% winning percentage over the last 40 years, sustained success year in and year out. And yeah, we stumbled, and we didn't win as many games as anybody would have liked last year, but you got to see the type of outcomes that a place like Union has for the student athletes, as far as putting people in six-figure jobs the minute that they walk across the stage because of the internships and the network, and building that alumni network and having those conversations. So you take something from every stop, and then you just find a way to apply it to the next one. It's like, oh, to me, yes, this is my first time being a head coach, but the things that I'm troubleshooting right now, it's like, oh, well, I kind of did it this way before, so let's take that and morph it into how the systems are here. And I think that's, again, you just you find a way. Like I think that's the ultimate piece. But I'm very fortunate for every opportunity. Very fortunate for um, the coaches that I got to work with, the guys that I got to learn from. Being on the offensive side of the ball, I think taught me a ton, and it's
Hmm.
allowing me to now be able to go into a season and be a head coach for the entire team because I've coached offense, I've been a special teams coordinator, I coordinated defense. Having that piece, I think, is what ultimately what I'm most thankful for up until this point on the road, is to have all those different experiences, to be a recruiting coordinator, to build a roster and recruit on the national level, and all those experiences that come with that. I think it's what's giving me the confidence that I'm where I'm meant to be right now, and I have this opportunity because this opportunity is meant for me right now. I think that's really what I'm going to take away from the journey so far. Again, I wouldn't trade it for the world. A lot of fun, a lot of great coaches, and I don't know how you feel, but for me, it's like guys that you may have coached with for a year. And I just had buddy with my dinner. I had just had dinner with my buddy the other night, and I was talking to him about this. It's like we worked together for a year,
Hmm.
legitimately almost like a calendar year. And my best friend, we talk all the time. We're at two different programs. We were able to grab dinner the other night and just spend the time together. His family was at his wedding. Like, that's why I love this game, is the
Yeah.
connections and the people that bring with it. Yes, each stop brings something unique, but every stop brings people. And for me, like, that was the coolest part about being in college, is like I get to meet and interact with so many people, right? I don't have to, I get this opportunity. And to be able to say that, this kid from Wisconsin, who's not really a kid anymore, but this kid from Wisconsin, and this guy from Old Forge, Pennsylvania, met in Oberlin, Ohio, and are very good friends now. I think is something that I'll never trade for the world, of like what you get to do at the end of the day, and how you get to be a part of each other's lives, and you'll always have that peace. And then you get to see players that you coached go on and do great things, whether it's in business, it's in society, it's in the coaching world. Like, one of my former defensive linemen called me up in January and said, I think I want to get into coaching. What do you think? I'm like, go for it. I think you'd be
Hmm.
awesome. I'll help you however I can, and you know, prep you for interviews, whatever you need from me, just tell me. But now you get to see them and you get to cultivate that next group. One of my former players from Wilkes is gonna, be our cornerbacks coach, and he's gonna be a part of this thing here. Like full circle moments like that, I think are what I'll take away the most is the people.
Yeah, the you mentioned that, you asked that. I don't know if you feel the same way. I totally do. One of my best friends, in the whole world. I mean, yeah, I coached at Simpson this past season,
Yeah.
and my one of my best friends, in the whole world, is still the O line coach there. I mean, we call each other. I mean, it's once a week
Yeah.
just to see how each other is doing, because I think when you spend that amount of time with one another, but then as well, like, you learn everything about that
Yep.
person, because I mean, there's a lot of late nights in those offices that you can only talk about pin and pull so many times, but but there's nothing like it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
One thing I want to ask you about is the recruiting process for you here now, because obviously you getting hired here, like I said, 27 days ago. What's kind of your approach right now? Is it, we kind of have what we have? Is there any sort of transfer, any sort of, trying to, you know, I don't want to say scrape the bottom of the barrel, but is there any trying to get some of those last minute commits at this point, or is it kind of moving on to class of 2026 now?
Yeah. Obviously the recruiting process here, like I mentioned earlier, is like the type of person that wants this opportunity is very unique, right? And I think that's something you can either run from or run towards. And for me, we're gonna run right at it and say these are the type of people that want this opportunity. This is the type of people that want an education that this opportunity has. But when I got here, very fortunate. The staff, the remaining staff that was here in the transition from the end of Coach Ramsey's tenure to when he stepped into the athletic director role to picking up the pieces in recruiting, finishing up a fantastic class, a bunch of guys that we're really excited about, and then being able to scrape in, and loop in some transfers that, we're looking for opportunities that this place presented. I think it all
Hmm.
has to start with what is the outcome that we're looking for. We're not just going to go into the transfer portal, and this is just my philosophy in recruiting transfers. It's like we're not just going to go look for, you know, Joe because he's in the portal. We're going to go and recruit either somebody that somebody's connected to in one way, shape, or form. He had a connection to this place, but ultimately decided to go somewhere else. Or he's going to be in a position where he wants this type of institution and he knows the outcomes that it's going to be. So, really got to tip my hat to the staff that was here. They did a fantastic job in putting a class together, getting them to the finish line. And then when I got here, being able to contact them and pick up the ball and being able to meet them, I think first year orientation was, I want to say like 2 weeks into my tenure here, the long tenure. So, me still learning about the buildings on campus and then getting to see those, incoming guys on their orientation day. And then being able to tomorrow, like I said, our guys get off that are in the C term on the ship, getting to see those guys coming off the ship and then being able to put it together on August 13th when we start this thing. I think at the end of the day, that's truthfully going to be what gets us to the next piece of this puzzle is how we have the people in here. We return a lot of starters, but how can we put an influx of people that want to continue to do things the right way, believe in the standard of how we're going to do them, and then pour into those guys, I think is ultimately what it's going to come down to.
You mentioned, obviously having a background in defense. That's kind of who you are at your core, right?
Yep.
Also, we're the special teams coordinator at one point and have
Yep.
coached offensive football.
Yep.
How involved do you feel like you want to be or are going to be in each side of the ball? Obviously, are you going to be pretty involved with each side of the ball, or really going? Obviously, you coach the entire team, right? That's your job as head football coach. But how involved are you really trying to be in each phase of the game?
Yeah. I think you hire people, you need to trust them to do the job that you hired them to do, right? So we're putting a staff together. Um, that's a staff that I believe in, that believe in the vision and the mission of the program, that believe in this board behind me and this plan to win, that understand that there's things that you have done and I've done at other places, but we're going to do things our way here. And when we do things our way, it may work for somebody else, some other different place, but when we do things our way here, it's going to help us go win football games at the end of the day. So, um, you know, I'm very involved by nature because I love this. I
Hmm.
eat, breathe, sleep. It's on my mind 24/7, probably 365. I probably need a vacation. Maybe we'll take one after the season. Probably not going to jump right into recruiting. Maybe next summer we'll see. But at the end of the day, I'm here to be involved and to coach everybody and to coach the staff, to coach, the head coach coaches the coaches. The coaches
Right.
coach the players, right? Like at the end of the day. So, um, you know, I am going to have, a heavy say in what we do in all three phases. I'm going to call the defense. I'm not ready to give that up yet. I learned a long time ago from a couple of different mentors. Is like you got to be ready to truthfully give that up, and you got to truthfully be in a position where you're like, all right, I'm all right with not digging in and game planning. Like that's the fun stuff, right? Like when you
Yeah,
get to
right.
sit down and you get to game plan, like it's not dealing with the organizational stuff. So I'm not ready to give that up yet. So we're gonna do that. Special teams wise, obviously, trust the coaches and pour into them. I have what I've done and what I believe in, and then offensively, um, you know, I have a vision of what I told our offensive staff that I want the thing to look like, and their job is to go and put that vision on the turf. So, it's trusting, developing, pouring into those guys, and just being somebody that they can bounce ideas off of, but also, you know, somebody that's going to sit here and say like, hey, I've seen it done this way. I know this is going to work. Like, let's just make it our way and we can do these things and be successful and how we want to do things. Like, I think, you alluded to it, like four verts is four verts, right? Like that's,
Right.
cover three is cover three. There's little variations in how we do things our way is like, that's going to be the difference is how we're going to do those little pieces, I think, when it comes down to it. But I think our staff are going to be teachers first, and that was the biggest thing for me is like, you know, we have quite a number of part-time coaches that are teachers that went to school, are teaching in high schools. They're teaching in elementary schools, middle schools, and they're coming over here for practice to pour into our guys because they love a game of football. So, obviously that's unique to have that, that part-time piece, but have those guys be teachers first, teachers of the game, teachers of the life, but also high character men, because I want this program to put out high character men. So if I'm gonna surround our players with people, they better be high character as well. That they better be people that at the end of the day, these guys can look up to, they can lean on. They know that they truly care about them, they love them, and they can coach them. Because it's not what it's how much you care, right? At the end of the day, so how much do you care about these young men? How much are you going to pour into them? And then, okay, now I can truthfully coach you and teach you and hold you to that standard every single day.
Chill, coach. You gave me chills right there. I want you to know that. I'm fired up. I'm ready to run through a brick wall
I
right now
can't turn
for
it
you.
off. I can't turn it off.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, let's go. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, better need to put one of these helmets on
Yeah.
and go rock somebody. This last little segment here, it's just quick hits. It's as fast as you want to answer them, or you can
Yeah.
expand on them as little or as much as you would like. But just some quick hits for you here.
Okay.
So first one we got here's best football movie.
Friday Night Lights.
Oh,
No doubt.
great answer. Love
Mojo.
that. Do you
Mojo.
feel the Do you feel the same about the TV show?
Uh, I mean,
Or
it's
is the movie just so near and dear to your heart that you can't even
no,
think about the
I
TV show?
do. I've watched the TV show. I
Okay.
watch it on repeat a couple of times. Like, you know, Tim Riggins, like the whole storyline.
Oh yeah.
Like you can't beat it. Like,
Can't beat
you know,
it.
Coach Taylor, like.
Mm.
I think everybody needs a Buddy Garrity in their life at the time.
Yeah,
You know,
that's for sure.
Buddy Garrity was, if we want to get into the weeds here, Buddy Garrity was NIL before NIL was a thing.
Right, yeah, true. With the quarterback from Louisiana. Oh,
Yeah,
love that.
Buddy
So
Garrity
true.
Buddy Garrity was NIL before NIL was a thing. So
We
I
need a remake of that with Buddy Garrity being like the I don't know, something with NIL now. That's a great thought though. That's so true.
yeah, watch.
Um
He's gonna take that and make it, and now we're gonna be
mm,
sitting here like,
I
man,
know, we're gonna be like, wish we would trademark that.
we could have had it.
Song that gets you in the zone.
Uh, Probably since I played, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of heat from this from the locker room. But since I played, it's always been "If I Can't" by 50 Cent. Like that's been
Okay. Oh yeah.
since my sophomore year of high school. That's been on my
I
pregame.
love that. We still
So
listening to that? We
I
still we
gotta
still bumping that?
absolutely, I gotta make sure that I listen to it before we take the field. Like that's one of the last songs that I'll listen to
Oh, I love that.
before we go out. So, um, you know, can't go wrong with a little bit of 50. So,
Oh,
uh,
totally.
that'd have to be it. There's a couple honorable mentions in there, but I'd have to go with that one.
Okay. Who's a coach, past or present, that you would love to sit down and talk ball with for 1 hour?
Man, there's a lot. I mean, you can take this one a lot of
Or
different.
I'll give you 3 to have dinner with for an hour if that's better, if you got a few
Yeah,
more in mind.
3 to have dinner with for an hour. I mean, obviously, like a defensive guy, I think you got to say Coach Saban. Like
Love
from an
that.
organizational standpoint, from everything that he's done. Um, Tony Dungy, obviously a Colts
Mm,
fan, so I'm a little bit biased there.
there we go.
Um, but just talk about high character and developing men and believing in faith. And I think faith is really from the standpoint of like faith, not in the sense of you have to believe in, whatever religion you believe in or at the end of the day, but faith to me in the football sense is believing in something that you can't see. And this is something that we'll talk with our team about. It's like I have to have faith that the guy next to me will do his job. I can't see that he's going to be able to do that beforehand. I can't see into the future, but I have to have faith that he's going to do what he's asked to do, right? And so, off on a tangent, but Tony Dungy, um, and then I'll go with I'm going to go with Don Shula as the last one.
Oh,
Obviously, a
man.
little John Carroll connection, but um, I don't know when you can do what that guy did. Pretty impressive to win all those football games. Obviously, a lot more that can go in honorable mention on that one. But I think some of those guys, from a standpoint of guys that have done it, they've won at the highest level and multiple different places and multiple different reasons. So I think that'd be a pretty interesting dinner table
Might need
conversation.
a little bit more than an hour for that
Yeah,
one. Might need like a golf, like 4-hour golf round or something like that.
yeah.
But okay, what's one football skill, one non-football skill that every player needs to learn?
Time management.
Hmm.
Time management. How can you effectively manage your time? I say this in the most biased way that I think football coaches should should run the world and then a lot of the decision making processes and things out there because you
Yeah,
take information,
totally.
you take an information, you make a decision, and you build a process to go with that decision and just go, right? Like this is how we're gonna manage our time. This is what our schedule looks like on August 12th, and then this is what the schedule looks like on November, 15th. This is what the schedule looks like in December. We need to manage our time effectively, and I think at the end of the day, if everybody can have that time management skill and to be able to do those things and build those things out, I think the world would be a little bit more efficient. I think
Yeah,
is the
yeah, that's for
like
sure. A non-football thing that you do to stay creative.
um I'm a big movie guy.
Okay, love
I'm a
that.
big movie guy. Like that's how I take my mind off of things. That's how I will kind of deload from a day and put a movie on or if I'm just sitting there in the background, I got a movie on in the office, and it could be something that I've watched 100 times, and I'll,
Hmm.
quote the line back, and some of my former players that see this will probably sit there and laugh and chuckle because I'll make a movie quotes and be like, "What, you guys have never seen that movie?" And it's like, you guys need to watch movies. Like, you need to
Right.
watch more movies. But that's kind of how I like to spend my free time and be creative, and big on listening to music too. Constantly listening to music, and the genre goes from 50 Cent to opera to
Oh
everything.
yeah.
Like, just I think it's you know, I think you got if you don't have a playlist for every type of mood that you're in,
Oh yeah.
like that's how it gets you
Need
going.
it.
You
Yeah,
need it.
yeah.
If we need to pick the vibes up, we got to pick the vibes up a little bit. We got to get some little BPM in there, pick up some mixes in there, some of the remixes and
Hmm.
different things, or who want to just have some classical music on and just be able to do those types of things. So probably music or movies are how I spend my time away from football, and helps me kind of slow my mind down a little bit and be able to be creative. Now, don't get me
Sounds
wrong.
like you sounds like you need to be the practice DJ. Is there any truth to that?
I am not the practice DJ, but I
Okay.
do I do have a lot of suggestions when it
I'm
comes to
sure.
a playlist, and I think it's important to give the guys their opportunity. But some of these songs, I'm just like,
Whew.
I don't know. Like,
I feel real old. I mean, my last season of coaching, I was like, "Who is this?" And they're
yeah,
like, "Oh, that's." I, I'm gonna sound really old right here, but Lil something. And I'm like,
oh,
I
and
have
listen,
no
you're 100
no
percent
idea who that is.
you're 100%
I,
right. They're all
I'm
little
like,
something now. I'm like,
it's
why would
all.
you?
I'm Lil whoever. I'm like, I don't know who you are.
Yes,
I'm like, I know that he sounds the same as Lil him
yeah.
versus Lil something, but oh, yeah, that's something. But football phrase that secretly drives you nuts.
I can go a couple different ways with this one.
Okay,
I can go a couple different ways with this one. Bend but don't break.
okay,
I don't love that. Like, defensive guy in me is like, I have a quote of, by General Patton in my office. You can't see it, it's over here, but it's, nobody's ever successfully defended anything. It's attack, attack, attack.
oh
Like,
sure,
at the
yeah,
end of the day, like, you're sitting back and you're defending it, whatever. But I can go off on that, could be
I
a
like
whole
that.
other podcast. Uh,
We'll have you back and just do that.
but when it comes down to it, I think that one, or I'm I'm not a huge fan of you're either coaching it or allowing it. I
Okay,
I don't love that. I don't love that. We need to coach it. We need
right,
we need to coach everything. And if at the end of the day we're like, it's just okay, then what is the standard that we're setting for the young men around us? So probably
yeah,
those two were the first two things that came to mind.
okay,
Those are the two things that grind my gears a little bit when it comes to coaching phrases and sayings.
okay. If your team was a band or an artist, who would it be?
A band or an artist? Wow. That one's a tough one. That one is a tough one. I don't know. I honestly, I got nothing for you on that one.
We'll have to see. I'll assign you one as soon as I watch week one. We'll be
Yeah,
like, that's ACDC or something. We'll figure that out.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
you see, like, there's so many good bands. It just we haven't really got this band together. We
right.
got
True. True.
our we got our staff still getting hired. Like, we got the last couple of guys still getting hired. We got haven't even met the entire team in person yet. So I don't know that I can truthfully answer that one. So that
Okay.
one's
To
a
be
to be
continued.
continued.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Last question here for you, Coach. Before we get you out here, what's one piece of advice that you would give to the next generation of coaches?
No job is too small, and never stop learning. I think that's how I've approached every situation. Is, like, again, high school, cut the grass, line the field, find a way to make it done to give the best experience for those kids up until now. Um, and then ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like we have to continue to learn. I didn't invent everything that we do. I didn't invent the culture and the things that we're going to have. I'm just cultivating it for our guys and what
Hmm.
we have going on right now. I didn't invent the game of football. Somebody else did a long, long time ago. And you steal and take and make it the next thing for the next guy, and you make it your own. So I think if, you know, somebody told me a long time ago, and I think that's really what makes the most sense to me is those two things.
Well, Coach, I've absolutely loved our conversation. I'm so excited for your first year. I don't think I would have watched a game, but now I'm absolutely all in. I'm all in on you. I'm so pumped for your first season, but can't thank you for coming on. Can't thank you enough for coming on the show, and I'm so excited. Like I said, for your first season as a head football coach.
I appreciate you doing this. Number one, having me on, but number two, having this platform for coaches. I think this is really important. It's like I can't tell you, like I said, I switch between music and sitting out and listening to podcasts and listening to guys talk about the game and what they love and their journeys, and to hear stories, I think is truly, really important for the next guy, for that guy that was like me, that was sitting home trying to decide, okay, is this what I want to do with my life? And to be able to hear these things. So thank you again for the opportunity. And you're more than welcome. And you want to come out to watch a game in person, right?
Absolutely.
Right in Throgs Neck, New York, right outside the Bronx. We would love to
Oh,
have you. Thank you.
I count on it. Count on it. Thank you for listening to the Left Hash Call. For more episodes, you can go to Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts. And be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter, and even Facebook if you're into that. And I would really appreciate you subscribing, following, or just continue to listen. We'll see you next time. Peace.